This one is a pretty timely one. It comes from NBC San Diego, written by Susan Caminiti from CNBC. And the topic is no college degree, no problem. More companies are eliminating requirements to attract the workers they need. So, Summer, it's graduation time. You have kids in the workforce, entering the workforce. What's your take on this article?
Well, it's definitely attention grabbing because, I think there has been this shift, not only, hiring during the pandemic, but I think a hiring shift that I have seen over the years, human resources, and been involved in the hiring process for over 20 years. And it's really interesting to see how this has evolved even just during that time. I think, when you and I were college age, Joey, there was a different expectation in terms of if you wanted if you wanted a certain level of income, then the most common path was you needed to go to college. And I remember reading the job descriptions, it was very specifically a requirement. It wasn't a preferred, it was a requirement. And I think as the years have passed, I've seen more companies look at equivalent experience, which is, I think, super important. But now actually seeing that there's kind of that next level change where companies are making a firm distinction that no college, not having a college degree is going to prevent them from obtaining some of these positions. It's a drastically different direction.
Yeah, totally drastically different direction because nowadays I think about the fact that there are just so many new kinds of jobs and new industries that universities are just now introducing programs for. This week I was at a conference and met a gentleman who's in blockchain and crypto, and he's just his university was just implementing degrees or courses around that. I think about kind of sidebar. There are small university courses on influencing and influencer marketing and how to go viral on social media, and these are kind of niche roles and niche industries. But when you expand that a bit, maybe in the tech space, there are so many boot camps and certifications you can get nowadays, and I think that it's more paying attention to the headline, and the big word is attracting the workers they need. And because we're in such this crunch for talent, the need is requiring us to expand our scope of what are the applicants that we can bring on board. Maybe committing to developing them in house, maybe committing to hire them without the degree, but giving them a pathway to learn along the way. I think this is indicative of just how tough the market is, and employers are re-evaluating what's truly essential and what's not in their job description.
Absolutely. I wanted to share also a quote from this article, and it touches on some of the key elements that you explained. And the article said that companies have long used college degrees as a proxy for job competency and career readiness, and I think that's aligned with what I've shared. I've seen historically, and while it has continued to evolve, now we have this combination of the COVID-19 pandemic labor shortage. And the article also goes on to say that the sheer magnitude of technology's reach into every aspect of life, it's forcing companies to rethink the prerequisites for successful hires and the kind of employees they really need to help them succeed. And so this article really focuses specifically on tech, but it does explain that other companies, they have been trying upskilling and reskilling and quicker background checks, which we'll talk a little bit about a little further in this episode. But all of these things to help them address the labor challenges. And I think if they're able to build and develop those skills internally, then they can attract a wider pool of candidates by not requiring that college degree requirement. And I think that's definitely going to give them an advantage to hiring when everybody is kind of jockeying for the same candidates.
Yeah, and we are seeing this with some of our clients. Just to put it in perspective, at IBM, the article says that 50% of their US job offerings do not require a 4-year degree. And that's a big change. But what we're seeing with folks in the small business space, maybe they're used to, what recruiting looked like and what hiring looked like when they were a hiring manager working at a company, and the level of scrutiny that you could have, and the ability to almost, catch and release with the expectation of, oh, a better fish will come along. You like how I threw that the fishing reference in there. Um, but now it's almost like you have to bring somebody to the dance and teach them how to dance, because you otherwise may not get the right candidate that you're looking for at the right price point with the right timing. And so, yeah, big businesses are doing it like IBM. Small businesses have to adapt as well and start thinking more about the training and development pathways that you will have for someone, as opposed to getting a ready-made candidate off the street.
Agreed. I'm really curious to see what this looks like 5 to 10 years from now, because with as much change as I've seen in, the last 20 years, but most specifically the last several years, I mean, there's been so much change that I don't think anybody could have predicted, expected, or planned for. And, now I kind of think about things a little bit differently, especially because I have kids who are either in college or going into college soon. And it makes me wonder, like, what is the value of a college degree going to look like 10 years from now? Do I think that it will still have tremendous value? I do. But I think the reasons that individuals will be pursuing them will have to be different.
Yeah, Summer, I don't know. I think there's so many variables into what work is going to actually mean, and who is working, and even what's working, with AI and machine learning and bots, that maybe there will be particular industries that are um, education proof, right? Like get your degree to do these fields. But then there are others that are going to just be, go to this trade school, learn how to manage the robots that are doing the work, and set yourself up for success. So it'll be interesting. I think there's a long road ahead. But for where we are right now, employers, managers who are out there listening to this conversation, hire that person and coach them along the way. So if you're looking for a sign, this is it. Hire and train.
Yes. And I would love to hear from anybody that's listening to this, to share with us their experience, whether they felt like their degree was necessary for their career. Would you guys do anything different if you were kind of facing that decision right now? Given this business climate, I'd be so curious to know. So maybe I'll put you on the spot and ask you, Joey, if you were, you had just finished high school and you were preparing for your career, would you still be considering a college degree at this point, or would you consider taking a different path?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you were to ask me that today, I would get a good degree. I still get a degree. I'm a person who is a lover of knowledge, but I also, when I got my degree and as I was pursuing it, I knew how I wanted to apply it for the future. And so I would still get a degree today, but I would also have, in high school, invested in Bitcoin or something, which is not doing so great right now, but it had a run. It had a really good run, and I'm sure it will again. Um, but that's also another part of it, right? It's so many people that are, whether it's through investing or whatever the case may be, If the ultimate goal is financial stability, a degree is not the only pathway to that. If the goal is to work in a way that's meaningful, a degree is not the only pathway to do that. So I would still get a degree today. I get my undergrad, I get my master's, all the same, and yeah, I'd still keep it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. And
What about
again,
you?
oh, for
You
me,
can't ask the
well,
question and then not get the this goes two ways.
yeah, I would, and I would say it's for many of the same reasons, and it was kind of what prompted my comment earlier about I think 5-10 years from now, individuals will be, in my opinion, I think they're going to be making decisions as to to attend college or not for many different reasons. I agree. There's still going to be several industries where I think it's going to be essential, but many where it was previously a requirement. I think that's going to be changing. And a big part of that is that primarily due to technology, there are so many different ways for individuals to have multiple sources of income. Whereas before, like when I was when I was graduating from high school, it was if you want to have a solid source of income, you need a good job that's typically provided by going to college and getting the education to compete for those jobs. I don't I don't think it's as much of a requirement, but for me, I think the lessons that you learn, some of the technical knowledge that you gain, some of the people that you meet, the different opinions and ideas that I think you gain from attending college, like just those experiences as a whole, I think are like beneficial no matter what. And so for me, I would still go for a lot of that knowledge and experience, but um, I think it is going to change here in the near future, and I'll be really curious to see where it goes.